we are all angels. And the funny thing is, we are manifested energy on this earth, on this Pachamama, and that's why we are all earth angels.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. I am your host, my name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show, we have Jana Madlener, the Earth Angel. Welcome to the show, Jana. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Karolina. I'm doing very well. The sun is shining, and I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I am super happy too, especially that I get to talk to the Earth Angel. This is like a cool identity. I feel like everyone of us is an angel, but not everyone knows it. But surely we are. We have the angelic body. We have the angelic layer of us. And if we can discover it and connect to it, I feel like our life can become so magical and so great. So my first question to you is, how did you get to become the Earth Angel? I mean, what was your path to connect to yourself and to do yoga and psychology and sacred crafting and all these beautiful things that we're gonna talk about?
Yeah, good question. So, I was brought up in a quite spiritual household already. My mom is like a little witch, I would say. She's the original witch, and she's done lots of crystal healing, and she's very aware. She's doing a lot of work with children, and she gave us these beautiful values. She was never forcing it on us and me and my siblings, but we just grew up in this very loving and magical place, I would say. And I've always had the affinity to it, but of course, when I was a teenager, I was kind of rebelling against it
Of
because
course.
I mean, crystals. I'm like, no, mama, that's not cool. But yeah, no, I love crystals. I have them everywhere. And
So
I'm also working with them. That's the sacred crafting, right? But yeah, and then when I was a teenager and also early, I think, yeah, the end of like 18, 19, I felt very disconnected from myself. I was I was doing things, I was acting out, I was like being so far from my essence and not in tune with my body at all. I was doing no sports, I was eating unhealthy, and I feel like I was a different person back then. Like a veil was kind of covered. I was so covered with conditioning and patterns, like completely unconscious. I was not aware of it. But when I finished high school, I was traveling with a friend. We did some work and travel in Central America as well. And that's why I discovered yoga. So I was just doing one class, and it was really fun because she was having like this hip hop tune in the background. And me and my friend were like, okay, what is this place? I've never experienced something like that. It was really funny. Yeah, but I was quite hooked. We tried it a couple of times. And then when I went back home and I started my bachelor's, I was actually trying to do it regularly. And I felt this enormous shift because I actually felt my body. Like I've never experienced that before in my life, like only when I was a child. And I've always been very connected with nature. And I've always wanted to be outside, like barefoot and hug trees and just I even greet the sun. Like when I wake up, I'm like, "Hello, sun." When I go to bed, I'm like, "Good night." So it's very funny, and that came back to me, like slowly but surely. I felt there is something, yeah, coming back, and it was only physical yoga in the beginning. So asana practice. That's like the postures, and you do because I'm self-taught. So I went into the studio a couple of times in Central America, but then when I went back home, I just did it by my own, and I never went into a yoga studio. And it was quite fun because you cannot compare yourself with others. You're on your own and you're very self-focused. So it's even more deep, I think. Like the energy with people in a room can be very uplifting, but at the same time, you just want to focus on yourself and you want to learn. I think it's amazing to do it on your own as well, because that's how it's initially designed. So yoga was designed for one-on-one people. And that's how I got into the whole yoga thing. And it just, yeah, like I said, it shifted a lot, not only my body, but then I just became more aware of things. I became more aware of what I'm doing, and I started to study psychology, and it's slowly all connected. Like, of course, I became aware of shadow work, like getting into all the deep stuff that's been buried. And I feel like yoga is illuminating these parts very, very well. Like sometimes in a messy way and hard way, because it's work, of course, it's shadow work. That's what's behind it. But it's just, it's a beautiful way of exploring yourself, connecting with yourself, but at the same time, it's a way to retreat and cocoon as well. So that's what was very fascinating to me, that I felt this passion for my body again, and that I started to love my body, that I started to see it, to feel it, to touch it. And slowly but surely, this disconnection, the separation kind of smoothed out, and I felt more connected also to the people around me. I felt my relationships are getting better. And I'm attracting people into my life. I'm attracting situations into my life that are very benefiting for me, right? That are supporting my path. And I'm really asking myself, okay, what do I want right now? Because it's not what I have at the moment. And I had a very amazing teacher in Norway, because I spent my Erasmus there. So during my studies, I went to Norway, and he was Indian, and that's actually like the first time I went into a studio, kind of. So I was talking to him, and he said, "Hey Anna, why don't you do a teacher training? Like, why don't you do it as a job or just as a side job?" And I've never thought about it. I was like, okay, well, it's actually a cool idea. I'm going to finish my bachelor's. I'm going to go to India and do my training like many people do nowadays. But yeah, I did that. And I only did it for myself in the beginning. But when I taught my first class, I was like, wow, this is this is incredible. Like I feel so energized afterwards, like I've never felt in my entire life. It's just giving. It's this beautiful service, because I feel like that's why we're here, to give love. But love is can be expressed in so many different ways, and I feel like yoga is a loving art, and it's connecting people, and I felt such an urge to share this magic with others. And that's why yeah, I became a yoga teacher and meditation teacher as well, like combining everything. And with the psychology background I have, I started to kind of dive into that. I started to dive into holistic psychology, transpersonal psychology, pairing it with lunar elemental psychology, because there's so much, not just our Western medicinal approach. And that's what the indigenous people and the ancient wisdom rituals are giving us. It's beautiful that we can connect it all. And yeah, so that's kind of what my
That's
story is
so cool.
to this point.
So cool. So cool. Lunar psychology, you said?
Yeah, so it's connected to the moon.
What
It's
is there
working
lunar
with the moon
psychology?
cycles.
I
Yeah,
am
you can
so
actually
surprised
call it
right
like that.
now. I mean, is it about like the woman, how it's connected to the cycles, or it's like completely different?
Part of it, for sure. It's like working with the moon. How can you support yourself, your body? For example, when you're a woman, of course, with your cycle. I'm sure you've talked about it. And then, of course, but also manifestation wise or work wise. How can I support my vision? How can I birth my vision? And you can work with the moon so beautifully. It's incredible. Her energy is just magic. Yeah. So I'm doing that since a few years, like always working with new moon cycles, full moon cycles, and the cycles in between, like when it's growing, when it's declining again. And yeah, that's lunar psychology.
Wow, I didn't know it has a name like that. I mean, I probably more or less know what it means because the full moon is like a completion thing, right? And new moon is like a
Yeah.
new beginning. So then you go from like the new beginning to the completion, and again from the new beginning to the completion, and so on. So I could guess so, but I didn't know it has a name. But it's so cool. It's so cool. Lunar Psychology. And I have so many questions to you based just on your story so far. One thing is actually really funny because so many people who are coming from the spiritual childhood, then they are going in their teenagers like, nah, I'm just gonna like disown it and just reject it, and then they come back, which is so funny because I literally spoke to someone like a few days ago with exactly the same story, like, you know, and parents just being so spiritual, then the kid is like, nah, I'm just not gonna do that. But then actually really coming back to yourself, which is really, really cool. But I wanted to ask, like, so when did you start seeing the effects of doing yoga? When you started, and like when you were a teenager still, when did it show up for you? Because for me, for example, I started probably like more hardcore maybe like 1.5 year ago, where I did like twice a week, 3 times a week, and I really can feel the benefits a lot right now because I'm so much more in tune, and I also do shadow work. I'm a shadow work junkie all the time, so obviously that kind of brings sensitivity too. But in terms of, you know, if someone listens and is like, nah, yoga not my thing, which I was like that 1.5 year ago. I'm just like stretching, I don't really like it. You know, but now I love it. Now I'm like saying to everyone to do yoga. I'm like pretty much the biggest advocate for it. But yeah, before it wasn't like that at all. So when could people, like, let's say, expect some benefits that they can really see it and feel it, and then they can get really into it? Because for me, it took a few months of doing, maybe like 2 months or 3 months of doing it really twice or 3 times a week, to get in the rhythm of it and to actually rest in downward facing dog. Because I think this is the point where you know that it's okay when downward facing dog is actually a resting position. Before that, no. Before that, it's not fun at all. To me, at least, it was my perspective. So when could
So
people see
true.
benefits from your perspective?
So that's a very, very nice question, because I feel like benefits can be multifaceted, right? So you have benefits in a physical sense, in a mental sense, in a spiritual or emotional sense. And depending on what you would like to have in your life, I feel like you can have immediate benefits and you can have long-term benefits. So for immediate benefits, if you go to, let's say, a hardcore power yoga or Ashtanga class, or like a very tough vinyasa class, afterwards your body, when you lie in shavasana, like the dead man pose, and you just lie there and you let yourself be soaked in stillness and relaxation, you feel your body vibrating, like you feel that it has done something to you physically. And when you do it, like you say, when you do it at least like twice a week for, let's say, 4 weeks, just a month, just try it out, you will feel a physical difference. You will feel your body getting stronger, getting more energized, because your body is actually like releasing so many hormones when you do sports, right? Just like the physical aspect of it. You get serotonin, you get dopamine, like the happy hormone, and you're just literally naturally high afterwards, which is great. And you can get that effect immediately. So after I've done a yoga class, I'm always very content. I'm so in this state where just, it's okay. Whatever comes into my life right now, it's totally fine. I'm just zen. And
Yes.
then, of course, when you go into the mental and emotional benefits, that also depends on what kind of yoga you'd like to do. Because what we're going to talk about is that you have different sorts of yoga. You have vinyasa yoga, ashtanga, rocket, kundalini. You have yin yoga, which is very feminine and slow and soft, compared to the other very young and masculine practices. And if you want an emotional benefit, every yoga is fine, but like, for example, yin yoga is very therapeutic, and you can even get a benefit after one class from that if you're working on a specific theme or a specific subject, like a specific trauma or whatever, or just like a teeny tiny emotion that you just like to cope with and accept, and or to feel, just simply to do yoga to feel your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say it's so individually depending on the person, but a real mental and emotional benefit comes when you discipline yourself and you do it. You just get over your, like you in Germany we say you jump over your shadow, right? You get over the edge of resisting, and you explore, you try something new, get out of your comfort zone, and that's when a mental shift happens. So
Mm-hmm.
try it once, see how you feel physically and also emotionally, because I mean your hormones are kind of, yeah, wiring your whole system. So see how you feel afterwards, and if you feel better, if you just feel a shift going on in your body, then try to get out of your comfort zone as often as you can. Try different things, because everything is just so unique, and maybe your body is not designed for a power yoga, maybe your body is designed for very soft, beautiful, feminine flow. So try it all out, and then you'll see. I think that's what the answer to this is.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's amazing because I can really feel.
Yeah.
I usually do Yin Yoga, and for me it has started because one of my best friends just did the instructor course, and then we were living together, and then she was doing yoga in the house. I'm like, okay, if it's in my living room, then I'm gonna do it, But then otherwise I wouldn't probably do it. But now I'm doing vinyasa a lot with her, with Sylvia Yoga. If you guys wanna check her out on Instagram, she does in Polish right now, but she's gonna do English soon as well, probably. But yeah, anyway, so with her, like if I have a class with her and I feel emotional before, I'm just like setting an intention, okay, I would like to release this emotion with this class. And pretty much after the class, the emotion is gone. Because I feel like the intention directs energy, right? So if you have an
Yeah.
intention to get calmer, to be more at peace, to connect to your body, to connect to your soul, whatever the intention is for the class, and then if you spend an hour with this intention or 1.5 or however long your yoga is, it's like you are embodying it more and you're really moving this energy in your body. And so I feel like it can be really beneficial, even one session, one yoga session. And the more sensitive you are, the more you're going to feel it, of course. So the more you do it, the more sensitive you are as well. So I feel like the more you do it, the more you can feel the benefits. But I would say even if someone doesn't feel anything, they already can feel the benefits. And my mom was working on, remotely as a teacher, and then she had like lower back pain, and then she started doing yoga once a week online with Sylvia, and she said like, I just do it once a week, and my lower back pain is gone. Like I sit at the computer still, but it's only 1 hour once a week that you don't have the lower back pain. So it could be just a little bit of yoga that you do that can bring you
Yeah.
massive benefits, because then you are not in pain anymore. So it is freaking cool what it can bring you, right? I'm just really, now I'm really passionate about it, but trust me guys, I hated yoga. Like anytime Sylvia made me do yoga, I hated it. Okay, so bear with us and try it out, because it can really be life-changing if you get more into it. And it's like with everything, if you're not good at, I don't know, playing badminton, if you're just shit at it, if you don't do it enough to get better at it, then you're gonna be like, it's a shit sport, I don't want to do it. But the more you practice, the better you get, the more you enjoy it. So it's really, really good to get into it. And I would love to talk about all these different practices and all the benefits that they can bring, or maybe which yoga I'm using for what, and also how to pick it for yourself, like what kind of criteria you might look at, and how to pick the best practice for here and now, or for you as a person in general.
Very well put. Yeah. So I think it's also important to just mention that yoga is not just stretching and poses, right? Yoga is so much more. It's a very holistic healing practice. And what we do is we work with the breath. That's like one-on-one of yoga, that you kind of fuse. It's like a marriage of movement and breath. And then you also have like really focused meditation practices, which is also part of yoga. And you have values, which is part of yoga. You have do's and don'ts, as you might say. And I think all of that combined gives you this holistic aspect, and you can really, that's a way to reconnect with yourself. When you allow all of these healing tools to be explored, because you cannot say this is for you, this is for you, this is for you. But of course, some people are just very auditive, for example, or just visual, and some people are very haptic, they love to touch and this kind of stuff. So I think you can also feel it with that. Or so if you like sound, maybe you should try practicing yoga that is a bit more uplifting, that has a lot of like powerful songs that are being played, also depending on the teacher. But if you like sound healing, maybe it would be nice to do yoga nidra, where you actually like you just spend an hour in a pose in shavasana, and the teacher is guiding you into a little trance journey, which is called yoga nidra, and there's music in the background, which is very, very healing, and you can explore your subconscious mind through that. So there's so many practices, but yeah, let's get into all of them. So you have the yang practices, which are yoga like power yoga, vinyasa, ashtanga, rocket, mandala vinyasa, kundalini. These are very, hatha yoga is very popular as well. So these are the poses, the sequences of poses where you move with your body. It's muscle strength, it's tension, it's power. So that's the yang way, the masculine way of it. And it's designed to discipline you, to make you stronger, to make you powerful, to actually make your body more flexible in order to sit in meditation. So that is what yoga is for, that your body gets strong and flexible, that you're able to sit in a cross-legged seat with your head held high. That doesn't mean that you have to do it, but that's just like the origin of it. And there are various different versions of doing yoga, because you have vinyasa flow, which is very fluid. You move from sequence to sequence. You pair it with the breath. It's a very dancing form of yoga, I would say. I love it because I love my feminine energy, and I feel like in that way I can connect with it. So if you feel very feminine in a way, or if you feel very masculine, you want to balance it out, you should maybe try a vinyasa flow or a soft flow, a slow flow, where you really connect breath with movement. So you do one breath, one movement. Warrior two, inhale. Peaceful warrior, exhale. So it's like a dance. It's beautiful sequence. And then you have, for example, Ashtanga Vinyasa, which is a very hardcore, strong, powerful, masculine way, which is, it was originally designed for the Indian army. So that's what it is.
Okay.
You can imagine, for, yeah,
That says a
18-year-old
lot.
boys in the army. Yeah. And that's actually what I was doing my 200-hour teacher training, my basis teacher training. And it's very hardcore, but it's a lot of fun. You do lots of inversions and you play around and you stay in the poses for up to five breaths, which can be very intense. And you learn to breathe through your discomfort. You learn to be patient. You learn to be strong. You learn to cope with the stress and with the little voices in your mind telling you, stop it now. It's enough. I can't anymore. And you just breathe into the pose. I can. Just tell through your breath. You can tell, that's also intentional, right? You can tell your body that you can, and you actually can. It's amazing what you can do with your mind, because your thoughts control your bodily sensations, your emotions as well. So that's another way of doing it. I think it's nice if you want to enhance things, like if you want to enhance your power, your strength, do something like that. If you want to balance your feminine, do something like that. If you want to balance your masculine, do something softer, more flowy. If you want to explore, be more sensual, playful, do something more like a vinyasa flow or slow flow. And then you have Kundalini Yoga, for example, which is a very, very special practice. I love it so much. It's connected to the Kundalini energy, which is said to be at the base of our spine in our root chakra, so our energy center in our coccyx down here. And this is actually when you activate your Kundalini energy, which you do in Kundalini Yoga through breath work, a lot of breath work, through pumping exercises where you actually do some movements for like several minutes, just pumping your body according to your breath. And you get to raise the energy. So you awaken the Kundalini in your root chakra, and through your fire breath, for example, where you pump your belly in and out, you raise the energy up. You bring it into your heart, and then you free your heart and you release the energy through your heart. And it can be very, very intense. So if you want to try Kundalini, do it with a teacher that you trust and do a beginner's class first. And then you can gradually get into it, because also the fire breath is quite intense in the beginning. It's very powerful and it's a lot of core exercise. But yeah, this is a completely different practice compared to Ashtanga, for example, compared to Vinyasa flow, because most of the time you're also sitting, and it has a different background in terms of yogic philosophy as well. But this is actually a way to awaken your Kundalini energy, is also the sexual energy, which is our life force, which is life giving, birthing. So if you want to tap into creativity, into your purpose, like what am I here for? I want to connect to myself, to my higher self, to my passion, to my desire, to the intentions that I'm here to set, or to the things that I'm here to share with the people around me, then try Kundalini for sure. And then compared to that, you also have Yin Yoga, which is also my passion. I love to teach Yin Yoga, and you mentioned it, right? So when you do Yin Yoga the first time, you're like, I'm not doing that again. No, that's no fun. I did it and I was like, what is this? This is not yoga. This is just sitting still and like chilling, but it's hurtful, it's painful. So yeah, I was not hooked in the beginning. But when I got to understand the energetics behind it and the healing purpose behind it, I tried it again. And then I was like, okay, this makes sense now. I'm gonna get into it. And in Yin Yoga, we hold the poses for several minutes. And this is the Yin approach, the feminine approach. So you have the Yang, the masculine, the doing, and you have the Yin, the softening, the surrendering. So in Yin Yoga, we don't use our muscles at all. We get into poses where we lie down. Sometimes we're sitting, and we actually relax our bodies completely, so that we can target not the muscle tissue, but the deep tissue underneath. And in the deep tissue, in the cells of the tissue, that's where all of our memories, all of our emotions, and our trauma is being stored. So when you experience something, your body saves it, your body stores it in cells. And connected to the parts of the body that you're using. So, for example, if you're working with your hips, if you're working with the inside groin, it's related to the second chakra. So, if you're working with the connective tissue there, you work with things like relationship, the father issue, the sexuality of yourself. So, if you've experienced some trauma there, you can work with these specific poses. And when you relax into it, you also learn to be patient, because you have to stay there for several minutes and it's not comforting. You have to find your sweet spot. You have to deal with pain, because sometimes pain comes up, or you feel so much emotion flowing through you. You have to learn to feel it, to be with it, to accept it. So it's a beautiful way to get to know yourself as well, and to get accept where you are at this certain point. Because I feel like in our society nowadays, yoga is a way to, it's quite popular in a workout physical kind of sense. It's how you look like, it's how the poses look, it's this alignment based approach. And I'm more into the energetics. So everybody is completely unique and different and beautiful. And in Yin Yoga, you do not look to your neighbor, because the pose will not look the same. Your body is completely differently designed. Your anatomic is completely different. Anatomy, sorry. So it's about what you're feeling. And it's an emotional approach to get into your body and to connect to your body. And that's actually where you can heal, but it's also very, very intense. So I would suggest you to find a teacher where you feel very, very safe and secure, and you feel like you can open up to him or her and maybe talk to her in the beginning if you've experienced some trauma, if they are actually taught in trauma-informed yoga care, so that they are able to hold the space as well for you, because that's when a lot of dirty stuff can come up. And it's a beautiful way to do this kind of shadow work, but you have to be prepared for it, and you can never be prepared for it. So make sure that you are in a safe environment.
That's so funny. You have to be prepared for what you cannot be prepared at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. I mean, I'm doing the shadow work for work with people. I'm, guiding them through trauma, so I know how intense it can be. But it brings me a few questions. So, do you feel like the Yin Yoga is the kind of shadow work yoga because it's like feminine energy, so it's darkness, so it's subconscious, so it's shadow, so it's all interconnected because you go so deep, right? So you go into your shadow. And also, have you had people on the class or with someone else or with you, if you were running one, actually go into their trauma during the yoga class?
Very good question. Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps right now. So yes, I would say Yin Yoga for me, for others it might not be, but for me it's definitely a shadow work yoga, because yeah, like you say, it's the feminine form, it's the darkness, it's where you can get into layers of your mind, of your consciousness that you've never experienced before, and that you're not able to tap into usually. So what I your question was whether people in my class also experienced it, right? So when I taught my first yin class, there was a girl and she started to cry immediately. Like, she was in one pose which was very, very intense for her, because I try to hold the space for everyone, but for some people it's the hip opener, for other people it's the heart opener, right? So it was very intense for her, and I went up to her and she went out of the pose immediately because she didn't even know what was going on. She didn't even know what was happening to her, but there was just this deep pain and this deep emotional grief and sadness that was moving through her, and I helped her to move through it, right? But so some people are just not aware that it can have such a deep impact so fast. And I feel like if you're more sensitive to it, you will get more emotions, and you will get this connection also maybe to visual memories, to pictures you get, or to smells, or to taste, because I usually get tastes when I'm in yin poses. It's very weird. And also just physical emotions. But there are lots of people since then that have been to my classes that are able to release their emotions. And it's not always sadness. It can also be anger. It can actually be love, just crying out of tears of love, tears of joy. One of my best friends, she used to come to my yoga classes in Copenhagen when I was teaching there the last 2 years. And she was in one pose where you do the eagle arms, and you open your heart and you close again. It's like a life form. You birth and you die, and you rebirth and you die. And
Phoenix.
she was just crying. Yeah, like a phoenix. And just tears were coming down because she felt such appreciation and gratitude for life at this moment, even though it was just a yoga pose. And it was in between. It was not even a yin pose where you completely relax, but it was like because you do these kind of rebound poses in between, where you let the energy move that you've stirred up and that you've tapped into, so they can flow out, right? Because when you just open the door, it kind of come out. So you have to make sure that you create this little doorway, this portal where the energy can be released as well. So yeah,
Beautiful.
I've had many people experiencing that. Also afterwards, just texting me, Jana, I have had these and these experiences, or next time I want to work on this. Because when you set your individual intention in the beginning of each class, you can also, in these poses, really get into your subject, get into what you like to heal within yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it seems like it's never just a yoga pose. It's always a healing experience, depending on
Yeah.
how we see it right now. I mean, depending on, yeah, it's always a healing experience, at least in my perspective, because you always move the energy, and the energy is everything. And I love what you said about, like, it could be love or joy, because I feel like a lot of people associate shadow work with just deep trauma and negative stuff. But it doesn't have to be like that, because in childhood, you might be super happy, and then your dad would be watching TV and they would say, shut up because I'm watching TV, and then you would suppress the happiness and you would learn, okay, I need to be serious, I need to shut up, and then the happiness actually goes into the shadow, goes into the subconscious. So the subconscious can be also positive emotions, right, that you just didn't feel safe to express, or you were just denying and disowning, and so on. So yeah, it can open up also very, very positive energies within you, I feel. So thank you for mentioning it, because I feel like this is a misconception that people sometimes have, that only needs to be the darkest shit, but it doesn't have to be like that, right? It could be also very light and bright, and so on. And also I have a question, because you say, okay, so yang, there are so many different types, like vinyasa, ashtanga, all these, right? And yin, it's kind of like, it seems like there's only one yin in terms of, yeah, just chill. So are there any like different yin practices, or it's just more up to the teacher or up to the practice, and it's like just yin is just generally the feminine one, where you more relax in the poses and you go deeper in your tissues, right? Or are there also like sub types, let's say?
That's a good question. Yeah. So yin yoga itself is one form of yoga. But like you say, it can be very individualized depending on the teacher. And then there is another form called restorative yoga or yoga therapy, where you work with, in yin yoga, you do that as well, but you work in restorative with lots of props. So you always prepping yourself with loads of pillows, with blankets. You make yourself super, super comfortable, because you're staying in these poses for 15 to 20 minutes, which is a super long time. And this is perfect for restorative, is actually designed for physical restoration of the body. So when you're injured and when you've had a lot of physical trauma, you work with restorative yoga. And that is kind of a form of yin yoga, right? Because it's a yin approach. But the yin itself is the way where you stay in the poses for 3 to maybe up to 10 sometimes minutes. But then you also have yoga nidra. It's not yin yoga and you don't have these actual poses, but you, in yoga nidra, you lie in your shavasana, which is also a yoga pose. And that is also a yin approach, because you dive into your subconscious, you do a trance journey, you alter your brain waves, right? And it's still a part of yoga. It's still not a meditation. It's
Mm-hmm.
a form of yoga. And so I would say, like, restorative, the traditional yin, and the yoga nidra is kind of the feminine approach to yoga.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you for answering that. Because yeah, I feel like I've tried Yin yoga specifically. I haven't tried restorative or Nidra, but I can relate to how one is more like action based, one is more like chill, and it beautifully, I think, combines itself. Because if you need more, yeah, power and energy, you can energize yourself. If you need more to go through some stuff or to be more introverted in a way, then I think these yin practices are really, really good. And yeah, thank you so much for explaining all that, because I'm still a newbie, although I've been doing yoga for a little bit, but I don't know about all the types. So for me, it's really cool to know, and really, really great explanation that you have given us, because I understand right now, and I'm sure that our listeners understand as well. But I would love to talk about the topic that we just started at the beginning, the sacred crafting. First of all, sacred crafting sounds freaking cool. So I would love to hear from you, what is sacred crafting in your definition of it, and how someone can do maybe like a little crafting for themselves in their own home, and how can it help them? Why is it so cool to do this even?
Beautiful question. Yeah. So I feel like life is all about balance, and the same way we express ourselves outwards we have to retreat and cocoon. And sacred crafting is a beautiful way to express what you have inside. Maybe not for everyone, but also for yourself, to just give your individuality, your authenticity, your essence, a voice, like a shape, because crafting is material. Crafting is doing something with your hands. It's manifesting. It's putting your vision into this earthy manifestation, like like you said in the beginning, it's amazing because we are all angels. And the funny thing is, we are manifested energy on this earth, on this Pachamama, and that's why we are all earth angels. And I feel like this is also, we've also been crafted in a sacred way. And sacred crafting for me is it's a ceremony. So I love to work with ceremonies and rituals. Yoga for me is also a ceremony and a ritual. And what I do in sacred crafting, I work with crystals, for example, but sacred crafting can be anything. Sacred crafting can be art where you paint. It can be art where you do yoga. That's also a craft, I would say, if you express yourself in a flow. It can be sound, it can be music. That is crafting as well. It can be pottery. It's beautiful to work with the natural elements of the earth and to create that. So yeah, what I do is I do womb adornments, and I'm working with crystals, and I'm threading these beautiful beads that you can put around your belly or your waist, and they are actually designed for your womb and for your healing or enhancing your beauty and self-love. And I got into that because I like beauty. I love beauty. I love to surround myself with beauty, and not in a Western aesthetic kind of sense, but in an earthy, spiritual sense, that everything around us, which is alive, and even a stone, right, is beauty. It's just, it comes from the earth. It's us. We're all one. We're all connected, and we are all beauty. We have it inside of us, and sacred crafting is just a way to bring it out into the world and to work with it. And that's why I got into this whole, so the power of beauty is like a huge concept also in indigenous tribes in Central America and South America. And I got into this whole concept like, I don't know, like a year ago, which is not that long ago. And I was so hooked on it that I actually did like a Kundalini walk-in beauty retreat where we combined shamanic practices with Kundalini Yoga. It was really cool. And I got the impression that I want to create beauty myself, and that it actually gives me a sense of purpose, that it gives me so much joy, and that I can create something just with my intention. So depending on what my intent is when I do it, that's part of the ceremony, right? When I do it, when I thread my beads, it gets a healing intention in the end. And healing doesn't have to be healing pain. It can also be embrace who you are. That's also healing intention. And when I thread these beads, I start with, I invite, so it's very shamanic. I invite the earth, I invite the sun, the moon, the stars, my spirit guides, and the nature guides that want to join me, and my angels, whoever likes to be here. And then I put my intent into this sacred space, into this holy space that I've created together in co-creation with the universe, right? And I feel like that's when you can really co-create, when you are physically doing something, but the intent of the universe and the energy of it is flowing into it as well. And then I take my time to express what I'd like to, what kind of beauty, what kind of aesthetics are coming through me, what kind of vision and creativity wants to flow through me. And then I design the crystals according to it. But if you do art, just let it move through. I mean, if you're an artist or if you're not, just allow whatever wants to come through you, come there. And don't think about how it looks like. Just have fun. That's the thing. Have fun with it. Enjoy what you're doing. And then I let my intention flow into it. And however it is, it turns out differently every single time. And that's a beautiful thing to it, because we're all so different and unique. And that's also the authenticity that comes with it, that every shape is different. And then afterwards, I usually, like what I do with my womb adornments, I put them in a beautiful water basket, because the water element is just a very beautiful energy, feminine energy that I like to work with. And I put rose petals inside. And because womb adornments are connected to the female energy, to the female body, I'm putting them in the basket. If it's a full moon, perfect, then the full moon energy can light up the basket as well. Otherwise, I put it into the sun. And then they get recharged with the water energy, with the frequency of the water, but also with the frequency of the earth through the rose petals, and with the frequency of the sun. And then you can, because crystals only take in what makes them stronger. And when they take in negative energy, they absorb it, but they release it as well when you cleanse them with water. And when you put them in this water basket, in this little ritual, they take in everything from that energy that makes them stronger, and they can give it to you. Because when you wear it, your frequency raises its vibrations according to the crystals that you're wearing. That's the beautiful thing about it. And you allow your body to heal then, because every single cell in your body is vibrating in a different state, then is vibrating higher. And then I close my ritual by giving gratitude always. It's a beautiful blessing ritual as well. So I bless what I've created, I bless myself, I bless all of creation, and whoever gets to wear, whoever gets to touch whatever you're creating, the sacred craft, is also being blessed. And that's how I close.
That sounds so beautiful. The whole ceremony that you described sounds so cool. It sounds like an earth angel was guiding this ceremony. That's literally how it sounds.
Maybe it was.
It is, it really is. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I feel like if we bring the intention and the ceremonial vibes to anything we do, whether it's art, whether it's yoga, dancing, or whatever, we can really get so deep and get so much out of it. So thank you so much for sharing, because it's very, very beautiful what you do. And so for all these people who are super curious about you and would like to know more, and maybe come for your sacred crafting class or anything, maybe yoga, what is the best way to find you and contact you?
So if you're in Portugal, please come here and meet me in person. I'm very happy to meet you. Right now, I'm located in Portugal, in Ericeira. So if you're up for that, just let me know. I'm giving a few classes here, but you can just find me on Instagram. It's Jana Madlener on Instagram, but I'm sure you're going to link it. So you can just send me a direct message there. I'm always happy to connect with everyone. And if you want to learn more about my retreats, because I'm hosting yoga and meditation retreats, they're being launched in, I think, 2 more new moons, and then the launch is going to happen. And if you're interested in that, if you want to learn yoga or do yoga with me online, if you're not physically there in Portugal, then go to my website. It's janamadlener.com. And there you can find all the information, the offerings I do. If it's yoga, if it's meditation, I do holistic coaching, I do one-to-one work. I also do private yoga classes, private meditation classes, private hypnosis tracks if you want to work with a specific theme, if you want to get your own healing track, for example. And then also the womb adornments, which are being launched in 2 new moons as well, in the whole framework of my Monden Atelier business. So yeah, that's actually, you can find everything on my website. You can also find my breath work and my meditation sessions on Spotify and Apple Music. So I've uploaded them there. It's all under Monden Atelier. So if you look for Monden Atelier, it's also on my website. But If you look for it, you can find some short meditations there just to calm yourself in some moment, or to get into the feeling of gratitude, or to start your morning, or to end your day. There are amazing practices in there, so you can check them out. And then, yeah, I just love to receive messages. If you have any questions, comments, collaborations, feel free to chat with me. And thank you so much for having
Thank you
me.
so much. It's been so beautiful to talk to you, and you're so embodied in all of the things that you're talking about. It is just a pleasure to be able to sink in this energy that you're radiating, because it's like really, I can feel your passion to yoga and to crafting and to everything that you do. So thank you so, so much, because it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Karolina. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. And thank you for your energy, for holding this space and giving us the opportunity to get our magic into this world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, beautiful souls, for tuning in, listening to me and Jana. It's been an amazing conversation. If you'd like to find me, I am The Connection Catalyst on Instagram. And thank you so much again for listening, and stay tuned to the next episode.